Welcome back, viewers. I want to bring you in on a project I'm working on here. I started it, but then I decided to bring you in on this project. So I'm using this bulb jar, and this thing is pretty tall. It's about 8 inches tall. Let me see. About 9 inches tall, actually. It's about 9 inches tall. So I'm going to make 6 of these. I'm going to decorate them up, light them up in the inside with some fairy lights. I already used my printable vinyl. I love this stuff. The printable vinyl allows you to use like different effects in your print instead of just using the plain colors that you would get from just your color vinyl. So now this is a trick that I learned. So if you notice this mat here, so I have my mermaid there. I did a project with this one also. So if you print these separately like this, there's a lot of waste in your paper because the machine needs the margins. It needs a whole lot of space for your margins. So had I printed each one of these separate, I would have used maybe 4 or 5 sheets of paper. But what I did was I fit them all. I think it's like a 6.5 by 9.25 inch space because again, your machine needs that border space to cut. So I fit them all in the space and then I attach them all together so that the machine prints it just like this. Now this is after I set it up on my machine to how I want it to look, make sure everything was measured correctly on my jar. And then I moved everything that I was going to print first on my printable vinyl. I moved everything to put it all together. So this saved me a whole lot of paper. So I'm going to take these off when I finish printing my vinyls, my vinyls here. So this is I love this. I think this is holographic vinyl, at least that's the cut that I set on my machine that it cuts it, because it's a little more difficult because it's not exactly smooth. It's smooth to the touch, but to cut in all of these little look like broken glass here, the machine has to cut a little deeper, just a little deeper to get on that holographic vinyl. So here I go. I already have, as you can see, my machine is set up here. I have these set up. I got all my different colors for my different color mats that I'm using, and I'm going to continue here. My machine is ready to go. So hold on a moment. I'll be right back. This is one of the colors that I'm using, and I'm using different colors. So that says all mined. This is one of the colors that I'm using with her. She's going to be on one of these bottles, so I like that pink. Bring that pink in with her. Now, as I've said before, I don't like waste, so I actually have this crumpled up piece of, I guess this is the pearl vinyl, but I'm going to use it because once I weed it and place it on my jar, it's not gonna look, there are no creases in it, as you can see. It just has little bends in it, but I don't like waste, so we're using this. And I keep my scraps or my extras, so I would be able to use that. That's a good piece on a project. So all my extra pieces, I just place them in here. Definitely I'll be able to use these later. Even I have some really small pieces of transfer sheet in here that I'll use. So I don't waste anything, because you could be down to maybe just a few inches that you need, and had I tossed this out, I'd be running to the store to buy another roll. But I don't need it because, and even again, once I cut that off, I'm going to place this leftover right back into my little extras, my little pouch. I don't know what to call it, but I'm going to place it back in here to just keep using it until it's gone. No waste, no worry. Even with my printable vinyl here, what I did was I had that, and then all I needed was enough space to print her. So I just flipped the sheet and fed it into the machine. Now I did try one thing. I had, for instance, if I had something small enough to fit in this space right here, I don't know if your Cricut machine will do it. I haven't figured out a way to get my machine to do it. It will only print if something is over here in this top right corner. So this will probably just be waste, unless I didn't think if I cut it and then place that smaller piece right here. So again, these projects can get pretty expensive if you have a lot of waste. So we don't want that. Avoiding waste as much as we can. Now, if you notice here, I have the crown up in this space. I'm going to move this crown right over into this space here. And again, that helps to cut down on waste. So I'm going to go over here. I'm going to click edit. And now I could move it. I just click on it and then drag it inside here. And I don't want to get it too close because then I'll have more of a problem with my weeding. So there you go. Now we only used about a 4.5 by 5 piece of paper. And again, if I just have a scrap, 4.5 by 5 piece of scrap, then that's all it would take. So now this is ready to go. Now I want to show you here too. This is my light grip mat. This is actually the top of my mat. You see the numbers 1 going across here, going across down 1 through 12. What I do sometimes is rotate my mat to get an even wear. So now I'm actually using the bottom right corner of my mat with it rotated around. And that gives even wear because the adhesion on your mat will begin to wear off. So if you flip it around to use the bottom side instead, then you get a little more wear out of your mat before you have to either spray it again with some more adhesive or keep taping it down like this. I don't tape everything down, but I do, like my heavier vinyls, I do tape them down, especially this holographic vinyl. If you've ever used this vinyl, you know why. So I'm going to feed this into my Cricut maker. Get it into the notches on both sides. And move these little wheels over because I don't need them. Okay, so we have it set. They're back in. The machine is asking me, are you ready to go? And this is what we're printing. Going back, pressing load. And then we're going to press the start button. And I'll be back when that's done. And that looks good. You can see that there's my crown. And then here's our shine. And I don't see any gaps in there. So I'm going to go ahead and unload it. Success with this cut. Now on to my blue. Now this part is funny. Okay, if you would notice here, So you can see once I cut something that was here, then I cut something that was at this top end. So I just cut it out what I had used. And what I did here was just left the mat, that sheet as it was, and just laid it on the mat. So now this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to come over here to my blues. Now I'm ready to print my blues, or cut. Ready to cut my blues. And this is how it's situated to cut on the mat. But once again, I'm going to go ahead and situate these and arrange them just as it is here on my vinyl. And this doesn't take too long. Once you get the hang of it, it really doesn't take too long. And again, these vinyls can get to be pretty expensive. Your bottom line is important to you, so you don't want to be spending a whole lot of money. So I'll be right back, and then I'll show you how I move these around. So here it is. I just rearranged it here in my maker. And if we come over here and look at it on my vinyl, it's all going to print above this line here. So what I'll do when this finishes cutting, I'll cut off above here, and then I'll have another 2 inches that again is going to go into my little scrap pouch. So this is ready. I can click done. I need to change here because it's not my pearl vinyl, it's just premium vinyl. And now it's ready. My tool is set, telling me to load the mat. The mat is ready. It's in the notches, ready to go. Load. Start. It is important that you choose the correct vinyl that you're working with, because if I choose for instance my holographic vinyl, it will cut deeper and it will cut into my mat. And again, if I have it set for just premium vinyl and I'm using that holographic vinyl, it won't cut deep enough. So you really do have to be careful with paying attention when you're changing out your vinyls on your board to make sure you have the proper settings there. Because it is quite annoying when I'm doing a big project, and say if I'm doing a lot of the same thing and I use this entire sheet and none of it cuts through correctly. So that can get pretty annoying. So I really learned to pay attention and be careful with the important things, and that is making sure I have the proper tool that's set in my maker, and then making sure I have my setting right for the vinyl that I'm using. And I will let you see here. So this is a long sheet. I don't cut it, I just roll it up. I just roll it and let the machine go. As long as I have enough space here, it's not going to fall off the edge of my table. I'll just leave it, and I'll tape it down to the bottom of my mat. Down to the bottom of the mat. And if you could see here, everything printed exactly where I needed it to print. Right in this space here. So when I'm done, I'll cut off that top portion there. Okay. So here is my cut. So this is where my cut is. You can see my letters on there. This is what I cut off. This is going in my scrap pile. And I will keep anything that's at least an inch, because I do print things that's only a ½ inch, and you need about a little space at the top and the bottom around the sides. You need that border. So a ½ inch print would be plenty for this strip here. And then finishing up with my vinyl now has a clean straight line. No waste, no worry. Okay, I've completed all of my printing. Everything over here has a check on it. Scroll down, make sure, because this is a pretty big job. I don't want to get to weeding and placing things on my jars and realize I'm missing something. Okay, so everything is checked off. Now, care for your machine. I always make sure, well, I didn't mean to hit load. I meant to turn it off. I always let's go here first. Finish. Press finish. Then I come over to my machine and I turn it off. Hitting the wrong button again. Turn it off. And then always close it up. Because I want to make sure I don't have any excess dust or anything collecting in my machine. Always, again, cover your mats when you're done. Prolongs the wear for them. And here I will show you again how I set this up. So first I set up everything the way I wanted it to look on my jar. And then everything that was going to be printed, then cut, I moved them all over to, here it is, it's a 6.5 by a 9.25, but I just kept it at 9. I fit everything, well, as much as I can into this space. And then I came over here and I clicked attach. So you can see here, if I click detach, it detaches everything. So I clicked attach to make sure that all of that would print together and I'm not wasting paper. So everything fit except for my one yoga lady. So this is what that jar is going to look like. So she is a print and cut, but then the letters are cut on different vinyls. I really do like this printable vinyl. So I could weed this. Sometimes I would just go ahead and try to fold it back, which this is working, and just pull it off. But I do have my weed tool, but sometimes I cheat. Go for what's easier. There she is. So I'm going with that, and I'm gonna cut. Now, here is how I get this off. I press it against a hard surface, and I use my table here because this table is really old and I really don't mind if I scratch this table. But I press it in and kind of dig sideways with it. So because it's really hard to get in between the film and the paper. There we go. I got it on that try. So then I kind of lift it up and then I could weed. It's much easier to weed that way. So now it's up. And as much as I can, I try to stay with Cricut brand, because it weeds just without a hitch every time. Sometimes with the what is it, paper something, the brand that I get from Hobby Lobby, I can't, oh wait, I know what it is, because that's the brand for the printable. That's actually the brand for the printable vinyl. I can't think of it right now, but it's called paper something. And sometimes it just doesn't weed as easily. Normally I start from the top and weed everything down. I find that to be really easy. Put that back down. And then we're off. Okay, so I like that pink pearly paper. And then again, if I don't need to use my weed tool, I can cheat. Got that one. Got that one. We're all good here. And I also make sure any weeding that I do, I make sure there's nothing left on my finger, because this permanent vinyl, it really is permanent. I mean, if I accidentally stick it onto one of my projects, it's really difficult to get it off. So I'm going to find, there it is. This portion is what goes with her. So this here, it's gonna say it's all in your mind. This is our yoga themed bottle. So I'm gonna finish weeding and I'll be back. So this is about what this one is going to look like on my first jar. And I place it and then kind of place my jar over it to make sure it'll at least fit on the jar. So measure once, measure twice, measure 3 times. And you'll notice here my R didn't cut properly. So I'm gonna have to run my machine again just to print the letter R. Okay, here I go with the weeding. Now this is the Cricut Permanent Premium Vinyl. This is actually my favorite that I like to work with. I love to work with this holographic vinyl, because some of my lettering is thin, and if I have a thin lettering, the vinyl, this holographic vinyl, I find is best, because you get a lot of reflecting and movement in your lettering so that you can see it better. So I'm going to, now I don't usually weed on top of my mat because I don't want to stab my mat, but I'm going to be a little careful here. Poke it in, press it through, and give it a twist to peel it back, and then I grab it. So I'll either start my weeding and go straight across. So I'm not sure. There we go. You can see that I'm going to pull straight across the bottom. So I usually peel from the top or from the bottom. So I'm going in a straight line. And you see how easily that's pulling away for me. I really love the Cricut vinyls. They're not much more expensive than the other brand that I use, but when it comes to time and ease for weeding, in my opinion, you can't beat the Cricut vinyl. Okay, so there we go. So again, see how that lettering is thin, but you get a lot of movement, a lot of shimmering in there, so you can see it pretty easily. So I'm gonna do my cheat again, fold it and peel. Going into my S, yes, that one came. Ease, I would find, I don't know, I would like to know your opinion. I get a lot of trouble with ease no matter what paper I'm using, and by I mean letter E. E's and R's. So I'm going to show you something. I have just a little piece here on my finger, and if that sticks onto one of my projects, believe me, I'm going to have a mess of a time trying to get that thing off my project. So I always check my hands and check my transfer tape to make sure I'm not transferring anything that I don't want transferred. All right, did I get, yeah, I got it. Okay, we can trash that. All right, so we have that. Now we're gonna go with my crown. Again, give it a little stab and then twist. Now this crown has a lot. This is it. Look how easily this is weeding. I mean, you cannot go wrong. in my opinion and in my experience, I have not gone wrong with my Cricut weeding. With the Cricut paper, that is. Was that supposed to stay? I'm not sure. Let's see. I think so. If it's a small piece like this, I'll press it down and then lift. And I may have lost it, but I'm not going to worry so much about it. Yeah, so you see here I lost a corner. But I'm going to try and see if I can get it. I don't see it on here. I'll see if I can find it. If I don't, I'm not worried. That's a pretty intricate design, and I don't think I'll miss that, even if I have to pull the other little rectangles off. We'll figure it out. Oh, even if I have to remove this entire bottom. Okay, so we'll get to it. And see all that little weeding I have to do? Yeah, I'll do that off camera. So here we go with that. Now we're going to weed. This is the name of it, Paper Studio. Here it is. So I have a roll here, Paper Studio. I get this one from Hobby Lobby too. I like shopping at Hobby Lobby because they often, quite often, every week they'll either have one or the other brands on sale. So we will, let's see, I'm going to go ahead and weed this whole thing. Sometimes I'll cut it and sometimes I'll just weed it as one. So there we go. And starting at the top with this one. Oh, good. Sometimes I have to fight with my apostrophes, but it came right loose for me. Happy about that. Okay, so we got the top layer done with the top row. Second row done. And see, it's just sticking. It's just stuck to my fingers. And I just pull down. Come on. Come to mama. And see that spacing in that end? I just pull it down. There we go. Done with that. Then I'll use my weeding tool to get in between the letters. So I'll do that off camera. So I'm gonna go ahead and finish weeding off camera, and I'll be back to show you my layouts here on my mats. Look here. I found it. Okay, so I'm gonna pick this up with my weeding tool, and then I'm gonna place it up here on my crown. You have to be very careful with these little pieces. I'm glad I found that. Now I'm going to show you how I use my weeding tool. All you do is tuck under and lift it. So it's stuck on there. And now I'm going to get it right at the tip. So if I get it right at the tip, that it's easy to place it. I hope you can see that. Can you see that? Yeah. It's right at the tip. Okay, so now I'll try to zoom in for you. Okay, yeah, that's better. Catch it with my fingernail and then try to maneuver it. There we go. Recovered. Now I just finished some weeding with this printable vinyl here, and it was not easy. So I'm going to bring you along as I weed this one here, because I do want to share with you some tips and tricks that I did with this one. So again, very gently trying to get, see I went through, I don't want to go through the paper and the backing. I just want to go through the paper. So I'm gonna try, there we go. I got that. Give it a twist. Now for the weeding. Okay, so because this is my printable vinyl and it is pretty, it's pretty strong. I have wet this before. The colors didn't bleed. I have scraped my weeding tool across my colors and it didn't scrape off. Nevertheless, I still like to be very careful. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my tool and drag it from the top down. So as I drag from the top down, what I'm doing is pushing out the letters, because this weeding job, it's not easy. So I'm going across the top, pressing down to get my letters out. And then I like to just stick it on my fingers, because I'm working with just pulling my fingers back. So I can hold it down either with my weeding tool or I can hold it down with my fingers. So going across to my G, again, working down, pressing until I loosen that G. Starting up, working down, working down. So I got them loosened, and notice as I peel back, it's lifting off. So then I could again either take my hand or my tool and pull that back. So again, I got my dot of my eye, but not my eye. So I have to go under again, separate that, hold again as I'm pulling. I'm going to use my fingers here because it's thick enough. And once I have it separated, hold it with my tool and pull. Now going across the bottom. So now here, as you see, we're going up into the H, into this spacing here. Now I have pulled with my vinyls before and I stretched my letters, so I don't want to do that. So all you do again is take the tip of your tool, lift it up, and then it comes right off. Okay, so we're going to keep going. Checking again, I have all my letters. I have the dot for my I. We can keep going. Holding down my L, gently pulling. Again, I don't want to stretch any of my letters. And I can see here, again, we're going up into the G. That doesn't want to separate. Take my tool, place it under, and just loosen it. So now that's separate. Continuing down to the T. Going across to my exclamation point. Okay, going with each one. I'm trying to flip this back so you can see it. With each one, releasing the tops of the letters. Going to my I. Now that it's released, folding it down, curling it back, and then getting my letters out of there. There's my T. So I'm going to use my tool and lift that T up. So the T is secure. Now, I'm just going to pull this the dot to that I, because I can place it later. I'm not going to fool around with the weeding process trying to get that dot off of there. So now I'm looking at all of my letters. I can see them all. And now I'll go across. And let's go for the dot on that exclamation point. It's free, hold it down and pull. Yep. So if your letters lift up, just let it bring itself back down. Because if you can see here, I don't want any gaps. So I'm going to let it bring itself back down, and then I hold it in place. Tap with my finger. This printable vinyl is not very sticky. I will tell you that. With the weeding, it's not very sticky, but I have placed it on projects. I think I've only used glass. I have not had a problem with it trying to lift up off of that glass, and I've even tested it, tried to move it around, tried to peel it back off once I've placed it on, and it's not coming off. But what I am going to try different this time, and I'm weeding here. Now here's my I'm going to show you. This is my big wall of wad. So I have the sticky side up, and I would take something and just stick it on there to get it off. Now I don't usually use my weeding tool, so I'm going to stop. Because again, I have scraped across my letters and I didn't scratch the vinyl. Nevertheless, I don't want to be doing anything again. So I'm just going to go and with my fingers fold it back. There it is. Lift up, peel it off. Nothing is left on my hands. So see there, I got a gap, a bump. I don't want that. So I'm gonna lift it up and let it fall back down. Tap with my finger. Okay, so I got one more in my G. Grab the wrong part. There we go. All right, so what I would do again, is sometimes it's difficult to see the white, so I would just feel and make sure I got everything out of there, because I did place some vinyl on a project, and I had a white filler in there that I had to, believe me, it was not easy to get it out of there, because when you're working with permanent vinyl, when it sticks, it sticks. So I'm trying to get this to match at least. I don't want it straight up and down because that one isn't. It's kind of at a slant, so I'm just gonna put it at a slant and let it go. Good enough. Okay. Now, there. This is not an easy weed job, but as far as being more creative with your projects, getting more out of it instead of just using a straight colored vinyl. So I actually have a print on this vinyl. You can see that. So I love the options that you get with the printable vinyl.